There is no denying that filmmaking can bring immense inspiration into the photography world and in parallel to any other art form. After all, the current that is inspiration is something that connects and intertwines all arts alike and life itself. And while many have touched on the issues of life and the human soul, very few movies have actually reached the depth of the movies of a certain filmmaker, Ingmar Bergman. And today we're going to break down images and explore some of the elements within his cinema, and with that take notes but also inspiration. Much has been written and said about this iconic director who achieved international notoriety with his movie Smiles of a Summer Night, theatrically released in 1955. And while Bergman on a personal extent might be a product of his time, his movies are most certainly not. Being that the main reason why I want to bring these movies to your attention is because in many ways these touch on subjects and show a type of imagery that is timeless. And no matter where you stand in your life, spatially, socially, idealistic and allegorically speaking, I'm sure you'll find at least an ounce of inspiration or take something from his movies. And while Smiles of a Summer Night is a clever comedy within a comedy that very basically revolves around members of a privileged class and their servants both finding themselves in romantic turmoil, it's in his more psychological, deeper if you will, movies that I'm mostly interested about. In particular, titles like Persona, The Seventh Seal, Wild Strawberries, and of course his famous trilogy of Faith, amongst others. Because these movies in particular, at least in my eyes, debunk in a way what Hollywood has set as a standard recipe for a good movie. That it must have great production values such as great, somewhat exotic locations, extravagant costumes and props, movement and innovation, and action-dense plots. Instead of this, Bergman's movies often take place in very few, sometimes even one location. They're minimalistic in a sense that they might not involve different storylines or present us with a plot of many twists and turns. Instead, they tell us that a movie can be as good, if not better, by focusing on what are the most primordial human qualities: the ability to feel and the ability to think and question. And by focusing on the depth of these, the director brings onto the screen real life, in a sometimes almost indivisible barrier. Now it's time to talk to you about today's sponsor, Filmora. And Filmora has been an editing software I've been using for video editing over the course of this last year. And while I can tell you that it most certainly isn't your average editing software, since Filmora combines multiple tools from auto beat sync to auto reframe and integrated AI tools, there's something I'm, however, more excited to talk to you about, and that is Filmora's newly released color correction upgrade, which contains an improved color correction algorithm that allows for a better analysis of your footage, as well as for more natural color adjustments. Filmora also has new color wheels, which I've been experimenting with, as well as a new parameter adjusting LUT intensity once you add LUTs to your footage. And this is an amazing tool that makes Filmora have an all-integrated workflow where you can basically drag your footage, images, etc. and have the freedom to edit creative sequences with the tons of available templates, treat your sound more professionally, and take advantage of the AI tools at your disposition. And now, of course, close all this process of video making with a smooth and effortless color correction process. And you can download Filmora for free, and you can check out their newest color correction upgrade by following the link in the description of this video. And what better to express the ability to feel even better than gestures, however blunt or slow they might be? Faces. And here Bergman has a lot to teach us about faces. And while some of these ideas are pointed out by Thomas Flight in his video The Director Who Mastered the Art of Filming Faces, I feel that especially for visual creators, photographers, whatever medias you might use, these are still pertinent points to highlight. And a lot of the emotion we see on screen is heightened by the use of close-ups, which is a great risk when we talk about summarizing the peak of a certain emotion within a scene in a closer shot. But this of course pays off when we talk about the movies of Ingmar Bergman, because he and his cinematographers cleverly use light and shadow to highlight the textures, micro-expressions in the human face, which not only sets a tone for the scene but also gives important cues about how the characters are truly feeling about themselves and their surrounding environment. And while in an earlier part of his career, in movies like Summer with Monica, the director chooses to play with the light around the subjects' faces in a more expressionistic way, if you will, to highlight moments of great tension, this does change with the advancement of Bergman's career, and these plays of light start being operated directly into the subject's face, heightening an emotion, a given element of the face, and what this communicates. In his later movie Persona, for instance, where a nurse and a mute actress develop a close bond, the light on their faces changes quite often, and it becomes progressively, as the plot develops, more and more surreal as the two characters meld into each other. And with this, I feel it's also safe to say that Bergman concentrates a lot of his action in the reaction captured through close-ups, with which we can learn about light and its effects on the subject we're capturing. Yet another note we can take, not only from these particular scenes, but also Bergman's movies in general, is the difference between the showing and telling, and the effects these decisions produce in the way we communicate with audience through our piece, whether that is a still image or a moving image. So you should ask yourself, what are the effects of showing but not telling the idea, the mood, or the dominant feeling you're trying to communicate? Or perhaps the effects of telling but not showing, or simply doing both? Most importantly, when to do it and why? And with Bergman's movies, we learn about this by observing how within the different narratives he worked throughout his career, he sometimes has faces turned away from the camera. And whilst we understand the idea or emotion being communicated through the scene, the somewhat concealment of this centerpiece through showing only details of a face, turning the face completely away, or hiding part of it in the shadow can produce a greater proximity with what is being told to us on screen. After all, it can make us, audience, by default more observant and more interested in unveiling the universe of the image being presented to us. There is this popular idea that I've also applied in different videos here on the channel of saying that someone turns a frame into a painting, especially when we talk about great directors in the history of cinema. However, to me, there's only a handful of examples I've seen that materialize this concept, and one of those is of course Ingmar Bergman. But what exactly does this mean, turning a frame into a painting? And how does he do it? Let's try to break it down by observing some of the elements, and we'll start with the available landscape. And while looking at this sequence of Virgin Spring, where both parents find out that something terrible has happened to their daughter, we can see a common element, the tree branches. And here the tree is used to give more texture, create more layers, and visually enrich the frames within the lines and contrasts it creates. And if we go back a few scenes, we see yet again the same element, a tree, being placed between the camera and the characters. And while we could speculate the tree might represent here the duality of life and death, good represented by the girl and evil by the man, I do think that the branches here act almost like the materialization of the sharp pain that perforates the heart of these loving parents who mourn the loss of their child. In conclusion, these frames resemble paintings for the significance of their composition, their overall formal beauty, and for conveying strong emotions and ideas, characteristics that would in a similar fashion attribute to a good painting. Another example would be textures, those of materials like costumes and props, those that belong to humans through faces and micro-expressions, and those that belong to colors or even weather elements like fog. Just check out this scene from Cries and Whispers. And after this, we cut to the following shots. And as you can tell, the color red is a dominant one. But why? Well, according to the director himself, Cries and Whispers is an exploration of the soul, and ever since childhood I have imagined the soul to be a damp membrane in varying shades of red. However, my argument for Bergman turning frames into paintings does not stem only from his close-ups, exploration of faces, etc. It also stems from how he chooses to film groups of actors. Take a look at these examples. To me, this reveals an ability to curate scenes where the actors are meticulously placed, yet this movement and microgestures are presented to us in a natural way. And when I break down these shots, I can't help the feeling that to me, standing alone, these and many other compositions look like paintings. Yet they'll move, and there's nothing artificial or static about it. And I should also mention in this case that this is a strength that perhaps Bergman also developed by directing theatre for a number of years. All in all, I do believe that watching Ingmar Bergman's movies is ultimately an exercise that can be extremely helpful for visual creators, especially other filmmakers and photographers. As much is there to learn with the Swedish master. And this has been only a glimpse at the enormous list of teachings he left behind in each of his movies, which goes to show that there is for sure a unique categorical strength when one chooses to look into the depth of life and explore the intimacy of feelings, thoughts, and existence itself. And I'd like to thank Filmora for kindly sponsoring today's video. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate you for watching and supporting the channel. I hope this video was helpful in any way, shape or form. Bergman is one of my favorite filmmakers, and it was an honor to do this video, and I hope that I, did some justice to his work or explain why we as photographers, as visual creators, should watch his movies and learn from him. Because honestly, there's so many other ways that I could have gone with this video, so I focus on these particular aspects, but there's honestly an array of other things that we can learn from Bergman in terms of storytelling and etc. And I guess that, if you want to find out more about what I do outside of YouTube, you can do so by checking my social media, my website down below where I list, some projects that I've been doing, photography. Also my print shop is there, so you're welcome to grab a print if you'd like to. It helps support the channel. But if you want to support the channel in any other way or be more active in supporting, you can do so by joining the members community down below. There's a link for it, and you can access exclusive posts and videos that I do there, and hopefully it'll be helpful in any way, shape or form, as I hope this video was helpful in any way, shape or form. So it's time to say my goodbyes. I hope I'll see you soon here on the channel. Take care, stay safe, keep shooting, keep creating, keep learning, and I'm out. Peace.
Seen it all, you can all benefit too. Femme fatale, I can't fall in love with you. Seen it all.